Hello and welcome. We're the Aussie Guys. I'm AJ. Here with me is G. How are you, G?
Great this evening. Thank you, AJ.
Very good. Well, how about we... Listen, we've got a special guest online. We've been chatting to him for a while, actually.
So educating him about Australia?
Yeah. A little bit about, dangerous critters and what else, how flat our country is. And
pretty much Kansas, we said.
Yep. And we were talking about
weird
states. Time zones. Man, we've covered it all.
Covered all we have.
Yeah. Holiday destinations. Mm-hmm. Whole gamut. Travis Rasmussen, he is the, I was going to say the host. We can call you the host, Travis, if you like. The most important person on the Superflex Super Show. He's joining us for our Arizona Cardinals preview, and we're very grateful for his time, and a warm welcome, Travis.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to be here, and I am definitely the most important one on that show.
And you're on the DLF network now, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited. That was a big move for us. Yeah, we get to be a part of all those other great shows over there, and there's even a main feed that you can get on your podcast app that has all the DLF shows all in one feed, so you don't miss any of them. So it's been great so far.
Awesome. And people can find you at TravisNFL, and they can find the podcast at Superflex Show on Twitter. And I'll have to pre-warn people, your Twitter image is kind of scary, I must say.
I appreciate that. Oh, yeah? Well, so is yours.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm just...
No. Well, listen, let's talk Cardinals. Let's set the scene. 2017. So... 2017, it was the fifth and final season under head coach Bruce Arians, and he was going to retire at the end of the season. In the first game of the year, you'll see a trend. In the first game of the year in Detroit, the Cards would lose their star running back David Johnson to a wrist injury, which sort of progressed and then turned into him going onto IR, and he was then gone for the whole season. In week 7... the London game, actually, versus the Rams, the Cards lost Carson Palmer. That was to an arm injury during the game. He broke his arm, actually. He was out for the remainder of the season. It was also, sadly, his last game he'd ever play in the NFL. They did improve on a 7-8-1 season in 2016, finishing 8-8. However, they missed the playoffs for the second straight season. It was a bit of a frustrating season, especially considering, the division came up and continues to come up, and the Cards, it was sort of a bit of a sad finish for Bruce Arians and also for Carson Palmer. But the season as a whole, Travis, a bit of a frustrating one.
Yeah, man, it was a bummer. Like you said, it's frustrating because as a Cardinals fan, you see the teams around us. I mean, we'll talk more about this in a second, but the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners just seem to keep getting better and better, and It was a rough year. There's some stuff to be excited about, but yeah, I mean, once David Johnson went down, that was kind of a key as to how the rest of the season was going to go. And then Palmer, I mean, that was the nail in the coffin. We were done after that. But 8-8 is surprisingly better than I thought we were going to finish. So,
considering, you lost your best player,
Blaine Gabbert and Drew Stanton.
That's right.
I'm actually really surprised it was 8-8. I didn't even know their record and you read that out there, and I was like,
"Wow, yeah. I know it is."
Yeah,
kind
not
of
very many
surprising.
people do. Yeah.
Considering David Johnson, and we were talking about. You guys, yours is a fantasy show. We're primarily kind of a fantasy show, but people were taking David Johnson with the number 1 pick, essentially in redraft.
He was almost consensus last year, 101.
Yeah.
So he killed a lot. Well, he didn't. Poor guy.
Yeah.
That injury killed a lot of fantasy teams last year.
As well.
I've got my hand up for a couple.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. So a big task ahead for the Cards in this off season, and I must say in free agency, kind of underwhelming. We'll talk about the draft in just a second. I think the draft was actually really good, but free agency, I don't know. So Sam Bradford...
tell me about it.
Yeah. So Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon, mind you, come into the building.
2-for-1 deal.
It's
like steak knives.
Kind of.
Wait, there's more.
with a kind of, I mean, we've used this in a few of these team previews, actually. Maybe it's a kind of trendy new term, but the bridge quarterback term. I mean, I think plainly the Cards were going to draft a quarterback. I think that was always kind of in the script. But so Sam Bradford comes in. Tyrann Mathieu. So I'm interested to get your take on this because I think that's one that hurt Cards fans. Yes, he did have an injury history, but, I mean, he played 16 games. So he played 16 games in last year. He did kind of have a bit of a monster contract, which they were able to kind of get out from under. But he's only 25 years old, and he's just an absolute monster on the field. Couple of additions. Justin Pugh came in from the Giants. He's a guard. Andre Smith, tackle from the Bengals. And via trade with the Browns, just sort of like later in the period, Jamar Taylor, cornerback. But it's kind of, it's not all that exciting, is it really? No,
it was pretty subpar. And it was very disheartening to see that they weren't more aggressive in the offseason, or specifically the free agency period. And, you know, as a Cardinals fan, you're just sitting here with 0 quarterbacks under contract on the entire roster, and you're just, what is going on, you know? And they're not making any moves for any of the top guys, and you're just, you know, you're thinking, here we go. We're going to end up with A.J. McCarron under center in 2018. But, I mean, Sam Bradford, okay, but we all knew you can't just have Sam Bradford. You know, you're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, and those eggs are going to break most likely.
Like his legs.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then the Tyrann Mathieu thing was really hard to see. The word is that they were really impressed with Budda Baker and how he played, and so they felt comfortable enough to let Mathieu walk based on Baker coming in and playing well, but it's still hard to see a good player like that walk away for nothing.
Also, I'm just trying to think. It would have been All or Nothing. I think we really got to see. That might have been Matthew's rookie year, All or Nothing. Does that ring a bell? Because I remember seeing a whole lot of him, Bruce Arians, and they sort of Bruce took him under his wing, and because I mean he had quite a troubled, you know, he had, you know, off the field stuff prior to being drafted, etc. And then in the locker room, he was just something, you know, like players were rallying around him, and he was a real kind of motivational guy. So he was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. He became one of the leaders on that team for sure. And yeah, it was pretty shocking to see them just let him go. It's a tough break.
Yeah, I guess these things happen in the NFL, but yeah.
Right, yep. And then we also saw John Brown and Jerron Brown leave out of the receiving corps, and we didn't bring anybody in. I mean, we brought Bryce Butler in, and I'm thinking, man, we don't have a quarterback. We don't have any receivers. This is rough. So, yeah, the offseason the free agency period wasn't too kind.
Yeah, and I mean, Bryce Butler, goodness. And John Brown especially.
We'll talk about
who was for a while. Okay, I won't touch it. I steal my co-host's
questions. Move on.
I'll leave it alone. Let's jump into the draft because, you know, I actually interested to hear your take on it not as a Cards supporter. The draft feels to me pretty solid. Obviously, in the first round, pick number 10, Josh Rosen. So there's your quarterback of the future. A lot of people had him at the top of their draft boards. We didn't, but, you know, he's still an impressive... But who are we? He's still impressive.
No different from, mate, a lot of teams. The NFL as a whole has been terrible at judging quarterbacks.
Oh, my word.
Josh Allen went 3 picks ahead of him, so that tells you as much as you need to know.
Yeah, and I mean, you would have much rather Josh Allen, obviously, so...
Yeah, you got me.
And in the second, Christian Kirk, who was a guy that, I mean, man, coming out, we love the tape, you know. He looks fantastic, so hopefully he's going to pan out, hit his stride. In the third, Mason Cole, a centre. In the fourth, Chase Edmonds, a running back. He's pretty handy. Again, my co-host's glaring at me. I won't say anything about... You can ask Chase Edmonds questions. Chris Campbell, a cornerback in the sixth, and Corey Cunningham, a offensive tackle in the 7th. But as a whole, I think that draft class seems to be one that, look, the Cards had a lot of holes, but I think that these picks meet needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I love the draft that we just had. And the fact that we got Josh Rosen at 10 and we're able to make that cheap trade that we did. I keep saying the Cardinals did. We got so lucky, man. I mean, how often is a guy that's considered, one of the top 2 quarterbacks across the board fall to number 10? And then how often does a team get to trade up 5 spots using like a 3rd round pick or something? Right. It was pretty cheap and we needed it because it was scary going into it because we have Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon and we're at 15. And the chances of us getting one of these guys at 15 was slim to none. So we lucked out in the 1st round. And then Christian Kirk, I agree with you. I love Christian Kirk. You ask any of either one of my co-hosts, they'll tell you I talk about him way too much.
Man crushes are fine. They're good.
That's right.
I have plenty.
Yeah, Christian Kirk is my boy. He's awesome. And he should go into an immediate opportunity in that passing game for sure. Whether that's outside, a lot of people don't think he is going to succeed outside. I tend to disagree, but there's talk of them splitting him more into the slot and having Fitzgerald come back outside more. Either way, I think he's going to be the number 2 on this team almost immediately. And then the 3rd round pick, Mason Cole, ended up being a lot more important than we thought because we just lost A.Q. Shipley to a torn ACL. So it looks like Mason Cole is going to start week 1 as the center, not under himself. Yeah, it's lucky again that we got some depth at that position. And then Chase Edmonds, I guess we can wait on if one of you is really excited to talk about him.
You're not?
Oh, no, I am.
Oh, good. That's right.
I was just going to let you build it up.
Yeah, we'll build it up. We'll build it up. So, look, let's go to the offense. We'll start talking about – always start with the QB. So, these are sort of questions in one big list of them. I'll put them all together, and you just pick which one you want to shoot off. So, look, this is how it stands at the moment. Sam Bradford's the starter. Is Rosen ahead of Glennon? Is Bradford the guy if he doesn't get hurt? Do you sit Rosen as a red shirt for the year, if so? What if Rosen outperforms Bradford in camp, but you don't want to put him out there just yet? If Bradford is the guy, how long will it take and what will it take for head coach Steve Wilkes to pull the trigger on Rosen? And is Rosen the type of guy that can sit and watch for 12 months? I get the impression he's not that type of bloke, but there's a list of stuff there. But that's sort of like summing up the situation in the QB room at the moment. What do you make of it, Travis?
Yeah, that was a lot.
If you want me to read it back,
so
go through a few things.
Yeah, could we go one at a time? No.
Yeah.
So Sam Bradford, in my opinion, is going to start the season.
Yep.
I don't think that's really in question. Josh Rosen's definitely ahead of Mike Glennon. Yep. I don't think that's really a question. Mike Glennon stinks. I was actually at Cardinals training camp the other day, and I think Mike Glennon might be in trouble of losing the number 3 job. We've got this undrafted free agent rookie, Chad Canoff, coming in.
Okay.
And that guy was dropping dimes the other day, man. So Mike Glennon might not be on the roster, but we'll see. Anyway, so Bradford is definitely going to start. And I think as long as he's healthy, he's going to start until the team ends up sucking really bad. Okay. So if we're, week 8 and we're 2-6 or something, then I could see them making a change just to put Rosen in there and see what you've got in the rookie. But if we're, 4-4 or 5-3, I think, Rosen will continue, or Bradford will continue to start as long as he's playing well and as long as we're not completely out of the playoff conversation. Yep. Rosen, I think, Rosen's saying all the right things that he's supposed to say as far as his role on the team, and he understands that, he has to earn a spot and he just wants to do whatever the coaches want him to. He's saying all that stuff you're supposed to say as a rookie quarterback. But, you're right. He has shown kind of that attitude where he feels like he should be in there. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But he's saying all the stuff he's supposed to say as far as him sitting out and, watching Bradford play.
Has there been a talking point at all in Arizona about when you took Rosen, just about his concussion issues? Like, he has had a couple in college, and some of them kept him out for a period of time, not just one game. We're talking multiple weeks. Is that ever brought up at all? Especially now that you're playing a league where you're going against guys that are doing this for a job. They've got family support. They're going to hit harder. They come quicker. They're heavier, faster. Is it something that's brought up?
Not really, no. I mean, I've heard a couple conversations about it, but it doesn't seem to be a main point of discussion at all.
Yeah.
With the new helmet rule, I mean, concussions are practically going to go away, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's completely solved.
So
yeah.
NFL fixed that.
Helmets, we don't need those.
No.
Go back to the leather things. How does he look in camp?
I mean, he looks good. He looks like a rookie still, but I mean, he's making some throws. But when you put him right next to Bradford, I mean, Bradford's making more throws. He's more accurate, you know. Even though he's a statue and made of glass, I think he's going to be there as long as he can be.
For a guy that's... Sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, this is just a casual, super obvious observation. I was going to say, for a guy, Bradford, I mean, what would you say? He's like an average talent. Average? What, above average?
No, I'm going to stick up for
Okay,
Bradford. Well, the arm talent is undeniable. And there'll be a lot of people who tell you, if it wasn't for the glass added part of his body, which is everything else except his arm, mate, the dude's got talent.
He is just, I was going to say, he is made out like a bandit, hasn't he?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
The coffers he must be like Richie Rich. Like, the coffers are overflowing. He was like, wasn't he the last big contract?
He was.
Yep.
I think we're not talking, this has got nothing to do with Arizona.
Rookie contract, that is,
yeah. It was like in 50 plus million guaranteed.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is phenomenal money, isn't it? For a rookie.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I'd say he's an above average talent, but I mean, we're talking average NFL starter is actually not that great. True. And the hype right now on him is probably a little too overblown. Everyone's like, Bradford's great when he's healthy. He's a fantastic quarterback. And you watch like mainstream media and they're talking about how he's actually like, I don't know that I've heard them say the word elite, but they're talking about Bradford like he's this fantastic player when he's healthy. And when you look at his career, I mean, he's average, but he's a slightly above average talent. But he's never, I mean, he's finished as like a top 12 quarterback once or something in his 8-year career. I mean, that's fantasy finishes. That's not NFL talent, but you know what I mean? I'd say he's above average talent, but the hype needs to calm down on him a little bit, I think.
He's only actually ever played 2 whole seasons out of the 8. So, you know, and let's face it, it's probably one of the positions you don't get hit the most.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could be just making that up as a joke, or that could be actually true.
No, that's actually true. That's a fact. That's fact. And when you think it's probably the less hit position on the field, it's not a good record. But, okay, let's talk about better things. Let's talk about the running backs and the return of DJ. We won't look back too much on 2017, but just a little bit, just to refresh everybody's memory. So the Cardinals at the end of the season were ranked 27th in yards, 30th in yards per carry, and 27th in yards per game. One of the obvious reason, obviously, for those stats is no David Johnson breaking his wrist in week 1. Yep. Adrian Peterson played 6 games and led the Cardinals running game, 129 carries, 448 yards and 2 TDs. Mate, he led the team in every category outside of yards per carry. Kerwin Williams was number 2 behind Peterson. So that's it. That's all we're going to talk about last season. So let's shift it to 2000.
Yeah, don't go too deep.
No, that's it. No, just refresh people's memory. So 2018. Now, so far, Johnson he missed minicamp, but that was more of a sort of he's in his final year of his rookie contract, so it's a bit more of like contract gamesmanship, really. He's going to be there. Everything's fine. They've said they're going to look after him. I think that's correct, isn't it, Travis?
Yeah, they're talking about they're going to take care of him contract wise, and that was totally contract related. He's in training camp already. Yeah, he's been practicing. Yeah. And it was a wrist, and it was week 1, so I mean he should be 100% healthy coming into this year.
Yeah. Okay. So look, the number 1 back is taken care of. He's a true 3-down back in every sense of the word. He's your Todd Gurley, your Ezekiel Elliott, your Le'Veon Bell. That category, it sort of stops after that.
Yeah.
They're your tier one guys. So, more interested about the guys behind him. So, you draft Chase Edmonds. So, let's talk about Chase. I'm a bit of a fan of Chase Edmonds. I've picked him up in a few leagues. I'm not sure if you have, Travis, and I sort of got a little bit of Twitter feedback saying, yeah, good luck with that. But, look, he's a 4th round pick out of Fordham, not a big school. He's in the Patriot League, so the level of competition is not the greatest. But, look, mate, he was hugely productive at the lower levels, is what you want from a guy that plays in that sort of league. And the thing I liked about him is that he did things on his own. Like, he made the game. He made the runs. He didn't have the greatest offensive line. So he's a bit of a highlight reel guy. I mark all my guys down, Travis, when I look at them. I have 2 highlighters. I have a
green.
I have a green one, which is good, and I have a pink one, which is because you can't get red, which is bad. And mate, my sheet had a hell of a lot of green highlighter when I looked at Chase Edmonds. So behind him, you have DJ Foster, who's come into his 3rd season. TJ Logan, who was a 5th round draft pick in 2017. Elijah Penny, who's coming into his 2nd year, but he'd probably be more of like a full back sort of role. So, look, when you look at Johnson and you look at the guys behind him, it's a very young squad. And at the moment, would you have Chase Edmonds at number 2? And if not, mate, how does this backfield play out if you see it differently?
No, it's Chase Edmonds at number 2, and then I don't care about any of the other 3 guys. I like Edmonds a lot. I mean, obviously you said he's a 4th round pick. Yep. It's not like he's some rock star over here, but you mentioned he's in the Patriots League. He's the Patriots League all-time rushing leader. So, I mean, he was absolutely very productive, and the coaching staff in Arizona has already talked about how if DJ were to miss time, they wouldn't have to change the offense at all to throw Chase Edmonds straight into that role. So, as far as fantasy is concerned, I mean, God forbid, something happens to DJ again, I think Chase Edmonds, he would be the number 1 waiver claim that week, and he would be in for a pretty decent workload right away.
Look, just back to DJ too. So Rosen starts. Say the season's sort of gone away from the Cardinals a little bit, and they stick Rosen in. Like the importance of someone like David Johnson to a rookie quarterback is just absolutely huge, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to have someone like him to lean on and who's always going to be there to be that check down option for you. I mean, I think it's going to be hugely important for Bradford too. Bradford is a check down machine. So I don't think we have to worry about David Johnson's role no matter who's in there. I think both of those guys are going to lean on him quite a bit. And not to mention having that running game, having a successful running game obviously opens everything up for those guys as well.
And I think what people are forgetting when a little bit of fantasy here is when they look at David Johnson, they forget that he didn't do an ACL. It wasn't MCL. It's not he tore a hamstring.
Achilles or anything?
Yeah, he broke his wrist, and pretty much the reason they kept him out, wasn't it? It's the season sort of, in the end, sort of got away, and it was no use bringing him back and risking anything further.
Right, yeah, he didn't even actually break his wrist. It was dislocated.
Didn't break it. Dislocated, okay. So, thank you.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what I was saying. It was his wrist. It wasn't any sort of injury that really matters as far as a running back being able to come back and do what he's done before. We don't have to worry about that at all. He's going to be – I mean, obviously the production is going to come down to a lot more than just him. Our offensive line is not that great, and the offense in general might not be that great. But as far as a workload and as far as his talent and his ability to produce, I don't think we have to worry about those aspects at all.
No, so let's talk about some more of the offense. And that's – look, we'll put the wide receivers and we'll put the tight end. The tight end in there. So Larry Fitzgerald, Hall of Fame guy. He's made everything a franchise could ever want out of a player and a person for that matter. We spoke about Bryce Butler, and there's a few chuckles from my co-host here, Adrian, as he moves across from the Cowboys. Chad Williams is maybe someone you want to talk about, 3rd round pick in 2017. JJ Nelson, look, mate, he's pretty much carried the deep threat mantle last year with Jerome Brown just being a guy, and John Brown struggling to stay healthy, and he missed everything from a sniffle to a ingrown hair. Any reason, he had to be. What was it? I have to be. I'll play when I'm ready to play. When I feel I'm fit enough to play. I don't know, some quote like that. Greg Little, I didn't even realise Greg Little was still in the league. But then you go and draft Christian Kirk, who we spoke about, second round out of Texas A&M, slot guy. And look, a lot of experts did have him, if not at the top of the list, like pretty much close to. And then we have Ricky Seals-Jones. And he's at the top of other people's lists for a totally different reason, because a lot of people see him as the big breakout candidate this year in Arizona. So just go through the receiving core this year at in the desert.
Yeah, so obviously Fitz is awesome. I believe Christian Kirk should be the number 2 here right away. None of these other guys have done much to make me feel otherwise, and that's pretty much the consensus reports that are coming out. I mean, Chad Williams coming into his second year, he only had 98 snaps last year, didn't do much with them. JJ Nelson is going to have the same role he's had in the past. You know, he's going to catch 5 deep bombs a year, and we're going to be like, oh, we're all going to pick him up in fantasy, and then we're going to drop him. And I think Bryce Butler is probably actually – I think Bryce Butler is probably going to be the wide receiver 3 when they go 3 wide. I'm not super excited about that, but I think that's probably what's going to happen.
It definitely fits his last year.
That's the feeling, yeah. But we all kind of thought that last year too. Especially, you know, he was saying he was going to tie himself to Palmer and Arians, and they both left, and we thought it was a done deal, and then he came back. So who really knows? This guy's. I would love for him to play another year or 2. I mean, I don't want him to play so long that he has kind of a sad exit where he just can't do it anymore and he keeps trying. That would not be a good end to his career. So. But so far, he can still do it, man. This guy obviously doesn't have the long speed to be that dominant outside receiver anymore, but he's still gaining separation, and he's still got the best hands in the league. And obviously 3 years in a row with 100-plus catches, he's going to be the main vein of this passing offense for sure.
And look, it is great just to have him even if you have him for this 1 year with drafting someone like Christian Kirk, just teach him the ropes. It's invaluable to have someone like that hang around on the team.
Yeah, can you imagine being Christian Kirk and coming in and having Fitz for his last year to just learn everything, just have him pour all of his knowledge into your head as a rookie? Like that's a pretty incredible opportunity that not many rookies get. So I totally agree with you there.
Now, Ricky Seals-Jones, do you believe in the breakout buzz?
Yeah. I don't know, man. This guy is really hard to evaluate. He only ran 70 routes last year, caught 12 passes, and three of them were touchdowns. And it was all in this short period of time, and that's why we all got excited, because he had basically 2 games in a row where he caught 2 touchdowns in one and then another one in the next game. And we all got excited. Jermaine Gresham is out, tore his Achilles last year in week 17. So Seals-Jones is the only guy of relevance in this offense at the tight end position. So it's possible, and he could see some decent volume towards the beginning of the year. But we don't really know. I mean, Bruce Arians never used the tight end. Steve Wilkes coming in from Carolina, that makes you think, oh, maybe they'll use him more. And especially given the fact that the wide receiver core is not that great, you know, he could be in for a pretty significant opportunity.
When you look at it from the point of view, I think what sticks in our mind is because he did it so late in the season. So people automatically we'll just roll that over into 2018. It's just going to continue. It doesn't always work out that way, but I think there's a lot of fantasy people out there that are hoping that comes to fruition. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll look at the O-line. So, as you said, probably not the greatest season. So you're third worst in the rushing offense. Had the third most sacks with 52. So let's look. The upgrade, you signed Justin Pugh from the Giants at right guard. Andre Smith comes from the Bengals on a 2-year deal. Former first rounder DJ Humphrey still rehabbing from the MCL surgery. The aim of getting back in the regular season, so he probably can update us how he's travelling. So you draft Mason Cole in the third round, which turns out to be a bit of blessing in disguise with Shipley going down and tearing his ACL in camp, which in the scheme of things doesn't look that bad in the fact that he was rated the worst pass protector in the NFL and gave up 5 sacks last season, which was the most of any centre. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise a little bit. And then Mike, how do you pronounce his last name? Lepati?
It's U-Party. It's an I-U.
Oh, I-U. U-Party.
I-U.
And look, he took a nice pay cut to remain with the team. So the expectations from the line, and how do you see it panning out this year?
Yeah, so those two guys you mentioned, Justin Pugh and Andre Smith, are both slotted in as starters right away. Obviously, Mason Cole is going to start at center, and you're right. I mean, it could be a blessing in disguise, although it's really disheartening to have a third-round rookie starting at the center position as well. So we'll have to see how Mason Cole can handle that. But he's a versatile player for sure, and he started every game since his freshman year in college. So we'll see. I mean, there's definitely a chance that he can work out there. And then, yeah, Mike Upati, this is kind of a make or break year for him, as on the Cardinals at least. If he can come in and a lot of these guys too had injuries, and like you mentioned, DJ Humphries, this line is recovering from a lot of injuries. If they can stay healthy for 16 games, and if Mason Cole can just be a league average at center, we could have a decent, or at least not bottom of the barrel offensive line. Pro Football Focus has us ranked 27th right now for the 2018 season. So that's not exciting, especially with Sam Bradford behind that line. It's not looking too ideal, but there's a chance that if these guys can stay healthy and Mason Cole isn't a disaster, we could have, a league average offensive line, which might be enough for some decent fantasy production.
I was going to say that, like, these guys are going to punch holes for David Johnson, but he can create it on his own. But yeah, you got to protect a fragile Sam Bradford, and are pretty much a wet behind the ear rookie when he gets in. There's going to be a lot expected from this line.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes.
And look, I think most defensive ends, edge guys in the league are pretty reasonable guys, and I think if they're blowing past your O-line and they've got a clear shot at Bradford, they'll just ease off and they'll just tap him on the shoulder. There, Sam. Play's over.
Tag, you're it.
That's it. That'll happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we said, the helmet rule fixed all of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they have to, I think they have to, like, booty bump him now.
That's right.
We'll just take away the pads altogether and problem solved. No more injuries.
That's right. Hey, let's turn our attention to the defense. This is a shining light of the Cardinals team, isn't it? Because the offense is getting a bit of a retooling here, but the defense, this is a defense that, in actual fact, there's only two teams that have ranked in the top 10 defenses the past 3 seasons, and that's the Cardinals and the Broncos. The Cardinals averaging as the league's number 4 defense over that span. There's playmakers right on every line, on every point, really. It's just, there's a little bit of change, but it's pretty good from front to back. So at the front, we've got, obviously, Chandler Jones, and he led the league with 17 sacks and 28 tackles. For a loss. And we've got Marcus Golden, but he opens on the pup. He's continuing his recovery from major knee surgery. We have Corey Peters, who's returning as one of the starting D tackles. You've got third-year pro Robert Kondichi, but he kind of needs to step up. I think we don't want to say the B word, but, hopefully he can avoid that. And then there's
I don't know what the B word is.
Oh, really? The B-U-S-T word?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot of B words.
You had to literally spell it out for me.
It's a bit of a dirty word, really. We don't want to sort of mention that word. Certainly, there's quite a bit of depth behind the D-line. There's a few names in there. Olsen Pierre is a pretty handy D tackle who's sort of behind Kondichi, I think, now on the depth chart. And then there's a few other guys in there. But the D-line as a whole looks pretty good, I would say, Travis.
Yeah, and our defense is obviously, like you said, the shining part of this team, and the only real chance we have at being competitive. So, yeah, I mean, Chandler Jones is a beast. The other guys are all pretty solid as well. So D-line should be good. I think you'll probably move here in a second, but the second corner on the team is probably
right
the biggest hole in that defense.
Yep. Because then you get to the next level. So we'll run through them quickly because, as you said, they're pretty strong units. So obviously at linebacker, certainly one of my favourite guys coming out last year was Hassan Reddick. He's at the strong side. You've got Dion Buchanan at the weak side, who's just, Dion Buchanan, don't need to say much else. Josh Bynes, you re-signed, who's he's a bit of a guy, but he's there. He sort of locks it down. He kind of replaces Carlos Dansby in that respect. So pretty solid. And there's some guys behind them like Moats, Robinson, Jeremy Cash, Scooby Wright. So a little bit of depth there, but those are kind of the main three guys. But it's a pretty good unit.
Yeah, I agree. I think those guys are going to be one of the reason that we stay competitive in games for sure.
And you did mention the big question. So really the big question really for the whole defense is who's going to play opposite Patrick Peterson. Jamar Taylor may be the answer. He was obtained via trade with the Browns, as I mentioned before. And certainly at safety, you mentioned the impressive play of Budda Baker last year, who kind of made Tyrann Mathieu expendable. But still, it would have been handy. I mean, a lot of teams, if you've got a lot of depth at safety, which the Cardinals generally have, then, that can help shore up some of those weak spots. You can sort of play five across the back. There's no reason why you can't do that if you've got the talent. But anyway, Antoine Bethea, 12-year veteran, and Budda Baker, and you've also got Trey Boston as well, who's played 3 seasons under Wilkes at the Panthers. So, yeah, the big question is just who's going to play on that opposite side, really.
Yeah, the solid safeties there for sure, and then obviously Patrick Peterson is one of the best corners in the league, and it's just always been that number 2 corner spot that's been a weak spot for us or for the Cardinals. And right now there's really no clear-cut guy. They could even bring in someone else in training camp or right before the season starts. But yeah, right now it looks like Bené Ben-Wickery, Lou Young, Brandon Williams, and then we drafted Chris Campbell as a rookie corner, I think in the 5th round, if I remember correctly. And I think it's just going to come down to a camp battle and a preseason performance for who they give the shot to. None of these guys so far are really in line to take that number 2 job. Well, they're all in line to, but you know what I mean. None of them are a favorite at this point.
Yeah. And it's going to be especially important in a division like the NFC West because it's funny because we actually recorded our Seahawks preview last night, and all the team. This has been a division that's been well known for its hard, really tough defenses for years. The Seattle defense is kind of it's not the Legion of Boom anymore. But this Cards defense is sort of staying strong. The 49ers defense, that's completely different. That's not the same. But still, this whole division is changing in other ways as well. Like the offenses are really coming up.
Right, and you didn't even mention the all-star Rams defense that they're putting together over there.
Right.
So it's a scary division defensively. But the Cardinals should have another good, if not great, defense in 2018 to help with that, to help keep us in the talks. But it's not. It all really for me just depends or comes down to can the offense produce enough offensively to keep up with what the defense is helping with and keep us in games.
Yeah. So the big question, Travis, is what are the Cardinals going to do record wise in 2018? Because as we said, really tough division. And then, we're not I know we're not really talking playoffs, but I mean, just the fact, just being in the NFC, man, that's a tough gig, really. It's like the AFC is just so much easier. There's so many, a lot of really super competitive teams in the NFC. It's just so tough to get any sort of, make up any ground.
Yeah, playoffs is not probably going to happen, and you made me sad right now. When you said that. No, so the Vegas, no, don't worry. The Vegas line right now on the Cardinals wins is 5.5, and it's tied for the worst in the league with the Browns right now. So the world is not looking kindly on the Cardinals, and man, it's just hard to think they can't get 6 wins. I mean, and my argument so far as to why I think they're going to get – I think they'll probably finish 7-9, 8-8. If we get to 9-7, I will be ecstatic. That's like the ceiling for them this year, I think. But really my argument thus far has been essentially the 2017 season. With no David Johnson and no Carson Palmer, you've got Blaine Gabbert and Drew Stanton under center without your star running back, and you still finish 8-8. There's enough on this team to keep us in games, even without a starting quarterback and without a starting running back. So how does that team come into 2018? They get a quarterback, hopefully, and they get David Johnson back, and they add a wide receiver, and they bring in some offensive linemen. You know what I mean? It's just hard to imagine that 8-8 team getting those players back and those additions on the team, and then dropping to 5-8 or 5-11.
Yes. And, I'm going to contradict myself slightly because I did sort of lead with the fact that the NFC West is so competitive. But the other thing about the NFC West is that, every game is just like, I'm not going to say a coin toss, but like it really is kind of up in the air. A lot of the teams in the NFC West, they'll trade wins, no matter what the form or the record, really.
Yeah, for sure. I think like the last couple years, like we've won, like especially the Seahawks will win one, they'll win one, like almost every year it seems like. And so, yeah, the in-division games are going to be interesting for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if we won 50% of those games. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost every single one of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
I was just looking at I was just looking at last year's win-loss.
Yeah.
And like you beat the 49ers twice last year. Like when you start looking at the 8-8 that you did last year, they're dramatically going to improve, I think, as an offense this year.
The Niners?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So when you start looking at that, you start sort of you'll be pulling games away from wins and put them in the loss column.
Yep.
But then again, the games that you lost last year that could be wins now with David Johnson and like you said, God, my God, let's hope a half-decent quarterback.
Oh, yeah. And there's that, Travis, there's that moment there's a few moments in All or Nothing. Was All or Nothing 2015 or 2016?
That was the 2015 season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds about right. It was
DJ's rookie year.
Yes.
They still had Chris Johnson, yeah.
That's right. And I distinctly remember, the Rams were pretty bad. I think they were pretty awful that year. That was a Jeff Fisher Rams team, wasn't it?
Yep. And the Niners were bad that year too.
And I remember the Rams coming into Arizona, and it was sort of like on paper, because the Cards record that year was they were almost not losing any games, and then the Rams came in and beat them, and I remember it being so disheartening on All or Nothing in particular.
Yep, and that's the thing with the Cardinals too. I can't complain too much because one of my co-host James is a Browns fan, so he always puts me in perspective when I start complaining about my team. But yeah, the Cardinals seem to have these really horrible implosion moments a couple times a year where it's like, how did that happen? How did we possibly lose that game? Like where everything just seems to go wrong, and Carson Palmer throws 5 interceptions, and whatever it is, it's just like, man, we should have won that game, But that's probably the case with every team, I would imagine. But it seems to be a trend every season. There's a few times a year where it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, one of the things we've been asking our guests is if they could nominate a locker room guy. So it might be someone on the offense or the defense. Doesn't really matter, but someone that is sort of the motivational guy, kind of the glue, in the locker room, bringing people together and getting them all on the one page.
Can I pick Jarvis Landry?
Jarvis Landry?
Yeah.
After that speech on Hard Knocks, I think everybody is wanting him. No, I think I kind of luck out here. It's a pretty easy answer. It's got to be Larry Fitzgerald, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's no one else on that team that has the presence and the leadership and the experience that guy has, and he's always been a leader for that team in that locker room, and just to have him in that locker room is such a huge factor for this team. So I think I lucked out and got a pretty easy answer.
That does seem a little bit like
foregone conclusion.
I cheated a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, haven't the Cards been so lucky to have a guy like Larry Fitzgerald? And he seems like, I mean, look, we don't know because, we've never met the guy personally, but he seems so grounded. Like, wide receivers of his caliber usually have a bit of diva about them, and, there's a few of those in the league, but he just seems like such a grounded, normal guy, he just doesn't sort of seem to have any of that about him.
Yeah, totally. And that's I think has a lot to do with it has a lot to do with his locker room presence. I mean, he's a grown ass man, and he acts like it. You know what I mean? And he really has taken a lot of players under his wing and shown them, and he's not afraid to share either. Like, a lot of these high profile guys are too into themselves and they don't want to help the rookies coming in. And that's the opposite with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, he's all about the team. He's all about helping everyone around him get better. And he's just a really stand-up guy, and the Cardinals have been lucky to have him for, 13 years at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, my word.
Yeah. Players like him don't come along very often.
Oh, no, exactly. And what a perfect mentor for Christian Kirk. It's just, it's kind of a shame in a way that, he'll hang up the boots, maybe, who knows? As you said, maybe he'll hang around a couple of years.
Yeah.
But still, to have the opportunity to mentor a young player like Kirk, that's so awesome. That could make a massive difference to the career trajectory of Kirk.
Yeah, and Kirk actually, I'm sure you guys have heard this narrative, but he's an Arizona native and went to high school in Arizona, and he's known Larry Fitzgerald since he was a kid. And they've met several times, and they've played at, these camps together and whatever. And so they've already had that relationship, and Kirk has talked about how him and Fitzgerald have been texting for, his last 2 years in college about all this kind of stuff. So it's really cool. They seem to have that relationship already coming into it. And so, yeah, it's exciting for him, for Kirk, for his career, for sure, to have that guy around.
And that's also can be said for Josh Rosen and Kirk have a history together too.
That's right.
They playing like in leagues and going to like the like high performance type camps together. Yep,
absolutely. They were talking about going to college together, and then that didn't end up happening, but they're apparently pretty close friends, which, I mean, you get into that narrative stuff and you start getting into dangerous territory where that stuff might not matter all that much when it comes down to how these guys are going to perform. But
sure,
I think it matters a little bit. It helps a little bit to have continuity, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Some base is better than no base at all.
Right.
For sure. Travis, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time, and I will point people to, we're subscribed, love listening to the Superflex Super Show, mentioned at the top, now on the DLF network, and so people can follow you at TravisNFL, and they can also follow the pod at Superflex Show. And, I'd mention your co-host, but you're clearly the most important cog in that wheel. But no, a shout out to the guys as well. No, you put on a great show, and we really enjoy it.
I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you. And those John and James are awesome. I was obviously, I couldn't do it without them. They're great guys.
You could.
But speaking of that, can I make an announcement?
Go for it. Yeah.
So it's the first time I'm actually telling anybody about it. But I just launched a solo redraft podcast as well for fantasy football. So
wow,
it's 30 minutes or less episodes, all by myself, and we just talk about it's going to be a daily show in the season. So every day there's going to be a new episode. I know it's quite the undertaking.
Wow.
So until week 1, though, it's three days a week, and you can find it everywhere except iTunes right now. iTunes has actually been down for new podcast submissions for like 12 days. So that's kind of why I haven't been telling people about it. But it's just going to be the Travis NFL Fantasy Football Show. So check it out. And right now we've got 7 out of the 8 division preview episodes up there already for you to check out. So let me know how much you hate it. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good on you. And
just what Twitter was invented for.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Tweet us out a link or send us a link, and we'll tweet it out, and we'll let everybody know where they can find it. That sounds great.
Thank you, man. And thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. And I will tell my wife right now that Australia actually has states as well.
There you go. See, it's important you take a little fact away, and
that's what we bring.
That's what
just a little fact, not a lot, just a little one.
Yeah,
tiny.
That was the only thing I learned this entire process.
Well, it's better than nothing at all.
Exactly.
As my son tells me every day when he comes home from school, what'd you learn today? I don't know.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I get that too. Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, Travis, you go enjoy your day, and we're going to hit the sack here. Actually.
We are. Yep.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
No, thanks.
Cheers.
Travis.
Thanks so much, Travis. All right. Enjoy your day, and we'll hope to do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Okay, well, that was great, chatting to Travis, and we chatted to him for a ton of time afterwards.
We did.
After we hung up as well. Fantastic to have him on.
What a great bloke.
Yeah, great bloke. We'll certainly tweet out some links and things when we put this out, and you can tune into the Super Flex Super Show and also Travis's redraft show that he's putting out. So,
mate, a lot of work to do a show by itself.
It's a ton.
We know with our mate Randy, he's out there doing it.
He is.
Doing a great job of it as well. It's tough. It'd be tough. I don't want to ever do it. Don't ever leave me.
No, I won't. Don't worry. All good.
Isn't that weird? I say that to you, but I say the complete opposite to my wife. Well, she's saying it to me. Get it? I think she says it to me.
Oh, dear. All right. Never mind. All right. On that note, I'm going to send you home. On that note,
she won't be happy. She's not going to like you at all.
On behalf of G and myself, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.